Many thanks for joining us. It's Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa, and today it's a special package, and we'll be talking about basketball. Yes, we'll be looking at basketball, and I've got a basketball player, also a trainer, a technical director, and the MD of Hope Dreams Nigeria Basketball Academy Development Program. And he'll be engaging us in talks about basketball from the local front and what he does at the development program. And I'm just hoping that someday I can engage him in a one-on-one. I hope I survive. That game. But before I allow him say a word, let's take a quick break and see what he is all about. And when we come back, we'll be talking to our guest in the studio.
My passion is basketball, and my first love as well. I was previously Oyo State basketball captain for several years in the 80s. I'm currently the vice chairman of Oyo State Basketball Association. When I started playing basketball, I started from primary school, carried on to my secondary school, Oyola College at the time. Only recently I realized that most schools in Ibadan, particularly and Oyo State as a whole, do not have functional basketball, and the game naturally was beginning to die. So I tried to think of an avenue to try and grow the game and make it more attractive to the kids. So hence Hoop Dreams started. Registration is free, it's a voluntary free program. So that's my dream. Basketball, Hoop Dreams is my dream, is my inspiration, it's my passion, it's my love.
Welcome back. I've got Damola Awosika right here, founder and managing director of Hope Dreams Nigeria Basketball Development Program. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
I mean, you're quite tall, and I wonder if I can actually challenge you on rebounds. Not even playing on the ground now, rebounds.
I doubt that very much.
You doubt? Probably after this one, we should go on to the basketball court and have a one-on-one game.
You're more than welcome.
I'll take you on game of 5, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. I can assure you won't score a basket.
Wow. All right, tell us about Hope Dreams Nigeria Development Academy.
Right, Hope Dreams started 4 years ago. I returned to Nigeria about 7 years ago, and I noticed there was a gap in the game in Oyo State. Haven't played for the state for several years, over almost 3 decades. The team or the state were relying on players from outside of the state. And whilst I was an active player, we had enough talents to pull from within the state. So I started to look and find out that most schools that had basketball courts back then, and most public basketball courts, were non-functional. So it was how can we then improve and grow the sport, the game? And that was how Hoop Dreams started. So I set up the program as an out-of-school program. So the kids would come after school on Fridays, 4 to 6, and then on Saturdays, 10 to 1 p.m.
Okay.
So we went around Ibadan, did a lot of promos, sent out flyers, invited all the kids. Everybody came. First year, we had about 1,000 kids come register, and that's how the program started. So I run it on a weekly basis for 7 months, 8 months, January to August. Every weekend. Last season, we must have registered well over 1,200 kids. The whole idea is not to keep them within the program. The idea is introduce them to basketball and introduce basketball to them. So a lot of them will come, collect the freebies, the T-shirts, and the shoes, and never return. But when you then see them 6 months, a year later, and you see them play, you can see that there's been some progress. Whether they had remained in the program or they'd gone elsewhere to then pick up the game. So it's trying to introduce as many kids into basketball and making sure they keep healthy, they keep within the game, and most importantly, trying to engage them, keeping them off the street, making them live a more productive, active life. So it goes beyond the game itself. We do a lot of mentoring, social, educational mentoring. I go into their schools, make sure they're doing okay. I have a few of them that private schools in Ibadan have come to the program and they've picked up. and offered full scholarship. So it's not just about them coming together on at the weekends and playing. It goes a bit further than the game itself.
Now, how do you spot these talents? You know, back then we know that some of these lads are born with the talent in playing the game of basketball, and some don't even have the talent at all. When you see these guys, how do you spot the talented ones, and how much of training do you give those ones who don't have the talent but are interested in playing basketball?
All the kids that come they all go through the same pace. So they have the same training schedule or regime, apart from the newer one. So when a lot of them that come are raw, they've never played basketball before. So if you're a starter, we'll put you to one side. You have coaches that will take you through the basics. So there's no special training for any of the kids per se. But where we identify a special talent, we can then set programs for them to either come during the week outside of the regular Friday and Saturday program and then have a one-on-one with some of the coaches. Throughout this holiday, the Easter holidays started, so there are about 3 or 4 boys who we feel have naturally gifted. You'll know once a kid picks up a ball as a starter, you see the progression. You see some after 5 weeks are, bouncing the ball much with a lot ease than others. So where there's a special talent, you can tell. Haven't played the game myself, haven't coached, haven't mentored. You see a special talent, you can tell. So those ones you give special attention to. Always make sure you nurture them right. Make sure they're not pushing themselves too far. Some of them, the game might quickly start to get into their heads. You take them to one corner, put your arms around them, and say, "Look, son, slow down. Don't get ahead of yourself. Stay humble, work hard. You can do better. You can do far more than you expect from this game." So there's a lot of one-on-one that goes on with most of them. Others just come just to stay away from home. They probably don't want to just sit at home all day doing nothing, so they just come, spend 3 hours, go home. Others are, oh, I think I'm good at this game. I can make something out of my life. Some of them who we feel are not naturally gifted, we use them in other areas of the sport. So they do refereeing, for instance. One of our best referees currently is an 11-year-old.
Wow.
So we know he's not probably going to be an exceptional player, but he has an idea of the game, he has an understanding of the game, he has a sense for the game. So, we'll try them, okay, can you do this? And you give them the whistle, and before you know it, they'll be making calls that, even beyond their age. Yeah. So.
Okay, now looking at that, we'll still get back to the parental influence now, but let's talk about you. You said you played basketball before. How long have you played, and did you feature in any major tournaments? Okay,
one of the main reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is because I started similarly. I was in primary school. Somebody came to my school and said, "Oh, is anybody interested in sport?" I said, "Oh, yeah." So that's how I started. It was an American coach back in 75, Coach Burrell, Don Burrell. I'll never forget his name. So he came to the school. I went, tried out for basketball, and that was it. By the time I was 11, I was already playing for Oyo State Intermediate.
Wow.
Call-ups to junior and senior national team, junior African championships. I was in the camp to have gone for the Olympics in Canada, in Victoria, Canada, 92. Before I left, I went to England. So I was captain of Oyo State for several years in the 80s. So I've had university captain, University of Ilorin, eventually went to Ife, played in the Nuga team in Ife, got a silver medal in Nuga 86. Which one was it? 86 or 88? 86, I believe, yeah. So, I've done, short of going to play in the NBA, or going to play in college in America, I've had my
You've paid your
my
dues.
playing time within the domestic league.
Now, let's talk about parental influence. You talk about the kids that actually come on Fridays to play basketball. Back then, how supportive were your parents, and how supportive are the parents of these lads who come to your program?
I was fortunate enough to have a sports playing father. My father was a sports administrator. He played basketball, so he supported me right through my entire career. Having said that, I was a law student in university. So my dad, there were times when my father would want me to stay in school, spend more time on my academics. I remember one time we went to play in Sokoto. Must have been 1980. No, I was in law school then. It was 1988. So I appeared at the venue, and one of the coaches then, one of the officials, Damola, what are you doing here? Your father said you weren't going to come. My father served as a match commissioner and most of those. So my father was shocked to see me, even though I was in law school. I took 3-4 days out to go and play in Sokoto to represent my team because the team depended on me. So my father didn't really frown at me not staying back in Lagos. He knew how passionate I was about the game, but after that he would say, look, you need to stay focused. If once it's near your exams, you're not allowed to play basketball. So all through my education, he'd been supportive, but there were times he would limit my playing time to, maybe basketball alone or a few hours a week, because I literally played all the sports, football, basketball, volleyball, and everything. So currently, I see a lot of kids within my program that their parents give the same support. And a lot of them, their parents will bring them every week to training. There's a particular man that will bring 3 of his kids, and sometimes on Okada, and he'll sit with them right through. And the passion that he had for his kids, and he has for the game, translates through the kids. So, you see them trying to work hard. I mean, these kids are as little as, I think the eldest, Quinn, is probably 8. So they're 5, no, she's 9. So they're 5, 7, and 9. And I've looked at them, I've watched them over the last 2 seasons, and I can see, the improvement that they've made. So some parents would discourage, some would encourage. Even with the discouragement, I say to some of my kids today, I said, look, playing sport wouldn't stop you from getting to where you are. I'm an example. What you don't do is let your academics suffer.
Sure.
Spend too much time playing, not paying too much attention to your academics. Most of the connections, and the other thing I say to them is, as an athlete, if you come to training a day or regularly every week, when you return to class, to school the next day, so you leave training, you go home, you sleep well, you eat well, you wake up in the morning, you go to school. When you're sitting in class, you'll be more alert than your other classmates who have never even participated in sports. Because you have more alertness, your brain, your body is awake, you're alert. So it has its own benefit, physically and mentally too. So, and again, I say to them, look, a lot of the contacts that I've made today, most of the friends that I have made and have kept, have been through sports. So there's always a benefit to it. Where it suffers is if you don't have anything to fall back on. So you just put all your baskets in, I want to go to America, I want to play basketball. You let your education suffer. You got nothing else to do once the opportunity passes you by.
Very true. Let's talk about basketball in Nigeria, talking about the national team. It's been a long time we exported. It seems like the best talent we've ever exported to the NBA was Akeem Olajuwon. After that period, it's been quite difficult to find an outstanding Nigerian basketballer out there, even in the NBA or even in college basketball. Recently, we know about the Tigers captain. Age is no longer on his side. In a short while, I'm sure he will retire from the scene. Then we'll get to look at other players. Why has it been this difficult to export talent or to find out these talents? Is it a grassroots problem?
Yes, it's partly grassroots. It's partly that that mentality of us cheating, the age thing, falsifying ages. So a lot of the experts that we have live late. So they're over 25, and then they go to America and cut their ages by 4 or 5. So they have limited playing career. They don't develop as quickly as they would have. They would naturally have if they were going at 14 or 15. We currently have, and there's loads of them in America all over. It's hard. It'd be almost impossible for you to watch college basketball today and watch 4 or 5 matches and not find one Nigerian.
Sure.
Both male and female. But it goes back to the fact that they travel late. They don't have the solid foundation of learning the game properly from a very early age. And then once they get there, age catches up on them. They can develop as quickly as expected. We have a few exceptional stars currently who are at the right age, give or take 1 or 2 years different. One person who he's been muted as probably going to be the #1 draft NBA in 2020 or 2021. Left Nigeria only 3 years ago. Charles Bassey, exceptional talent. He's about 7 feet. Currently plays for West Kentucky University. Okay. So that's one for the future. His nickname now is the Big Ticket.
Wow.
So we have a few of them, but again, the game has advanced so much that there's so much science and there's a lot that has gone into basketball, that the skills that people had in the times of Hakeem, not disrespect to Hakeem, was a fantastic player. We don't have as much talent then. I mean, when people compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan's era, Michael Jordan dominated everybody. LeBron James, as skillful as he is, can't dominate everybody because there's so many people around him that are almost as skillful as him himself. So the game has grown, but we haven't locally grown with the game. So by the time our boys get to America, they're playing catch up.
Okay, let's look inwards into I call it the locker room now. Nigerian basketball, over time we've had different issues. Even till date, we're hearing 2 different bodies brew the basketball seats. I mean, what's your take? It hasn't really affected our game in a way. The Tigers have been doing well in the qualifiers. We're looking forward to the World Cup. The Tigers as well, preparing for the World Cup. It hasn't really shown much of a difference in the way we play basketball. But behind the scenes, it's causing a whole lot of havoc. What's your take on that?
I would not agree that it has not affected our national team. It has to an extent, but not drastically. The girls, for instance, have improved. They have a bigger pool of talent. The boys, I feel, we could have blended a bit of the old and the new, which we didn't do the last
Afrobasket tournament.
But having said that, it's always work in progress. With respect to the politics that's going on, it's rather unfortunate. And one faction is claiming legitimacy over the other. The other is fighting to stop the other functioning. There was one faction went to court recently trying to seek a court order stopping the other one. The case was thrown out. The annoying thing to me personally is both factions were very cordial. They were friends to start with. They were friends until not too far distant. And how things have turned this bad, this sour, and people find it difficult for the love of the game, to come together, bury the hatchets, and let's just sit down and talk and move the game forward. We haven't had a proper National League now going onto our second season. Last season was disrupted. I'm the vice chairman of State Basketball Association. I have players sitting around looking forward to playing the competition, and they can't do that. This year, this season now, there's absolutely no hope. I can't see any chances of there being a league. One fraction had a league, the Tijani Omar's faction, who were the previous MBBA board, had carried on their program of the National League. They didn't really finish that last year. The new board, Musa Kida's board, played an aggregate league, which was a few games within a week, which wasn't the ideal preparation for Continental. So, there's a lot of issues there. I just wish everybody would just, come together and let's settle this thing once and for all. FIBA says they might order a re-election. Hopefully, if that happens,
everything will be sorted.
We have a federation constitution, which we don't have now. FIBA is in the process of making sure we have one that's in line with the FIBA statutes. So once that is in place, a re-election is ordered. We have a legitimate board in place. Things might move forward. The good thing, on the flip side, is almost every federation in Nigeria have gone through that. Boxing Federation went through it. The Football Federation went through it. Athletics. So you go through that program, that difficult period, before you can organize your home. And hopefully once that is done, it brings sanity back into the sport, and then we can see things grow and improve a lot better.
Lastly, let's talk about the Lagos State Basketball Association. We hear that they are trying to build basketball courts across local governments in Lagos State. How feasible do you think this is?
That's the only way. That's the only way you can improve and increase the sport's popularity. Basketball is second most popular sport after football. Lagos State have, to my mind, have a lot of empty spaces. If you go to Ojota, for instance, where the parks are, you can throw in a basketball court there. Well, there's so many other open public spaces, and the idea is put them in places that are visible to the public. So anybody driving around or driving past, that's a basketball court, and is easy access to. So identify the places first, get government approval, and build. There's nothing stopping having as many as possible. The population is there. The population is there. So if that's the program they have, or that's what they're planning to do, they have my support 100%. And that's the same way. And I just state that I'm vice chairman of. I have been hammering about the same thing for the last 3-4 years.
Looking forward to having the very best of basketball, not just in Lagos, but spread out across Nigeria. Now, for the young talents out there, I would like you to give them a piece of advice.
For the young talents, it's hard work, dedication, perseverance. Just stay focused, and most importantly, stay in school. Every sport requires a level of intelligence. So if you're not that intelligent, you would not, unless even if it's a one-man sport, wrestling or judo or whatever, it still requires mental toughness and alertness, and your coach talking to you, you should be able to process the information. So importantly, work hard, persevere, stay fit, but most importantly, stay in school. School education is above anything that you want to attain in life.
You heard it all. Education is quite key in whatever you want to attain in life. Words coming from Damola Awosika right here on our show, Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. I'd like to say thank you very much for making it to the studio.
Thanks.
We'd like to have you once again some other time to come and tell us more on basketball.
We'll be more than happy to.
All right, that's how we'll draw the curtain on today's show. I hope you enjoyed the package. I'm Udoka Njoko. Do enjoy the rest of your day.